There are 4 theories that influence motivation. The first is Charles Darwin's instinct theory. This theory describes an instinct or a complex behavior that has a fixed action pattern throughout a species and is unlearned. An example of this is a salmon returning to its birthplace. However, this theory was only naming human behaviors, not explaining them. The instinct theory was later replaced by the drive reduction theory. This theory said that a psychological need creates an aroused state that drives an organism to reduce that need. We are also pulled by our incentives, positive or negative stimuli that pulls or repels us, such as the aroma of good food. The aim of drive reduction is homeostasis, the maintenance of a steady internal state. The drive reduction theory is not always accurate because some motivated behaviors actually increase arousal. This is where the arousal theory takes over. This theory says that arousal follows an inverted U. As arousal increases, so does motivation. This peaks at the top of the inverted U, and then motivation begins to decrease. The final theory of motivation is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This theory says that some needs take priority. Physiological needs are at the bottom, and they are the most important, followed by safety, belongingness and love, esteem, self-actualization, and self-transcendence. Physiologically, a multitude of things control hunger. A. Al Washburn found that your stomach contracts to make you feel hungry. However, rats with their stomachs removed still ate. A decrease in blood sugar by the hormone insulin also triggers a feeling of hunger. Activity in the lateral hypothalamus makes you feel hungry, and activity in the ventromedial hypothalamus decreases hunger. However, hunger is more than body signals. Chemistry and our environment influence what we hunger for and exactly how much. For example, carbohydrates release serotonin, which has a calming effect. This is why people eat carbohydrate-rich foods when they are stressed. Social facilitation and unit bias are 2 concepts that explain why we eat more when we're around people. Social facilitation says that being around others amplifies behavioral tendencies. Unit bias is basically similar-mindedness among groups. Eating disorders are when psychological influences overwhelm biological wisdom. Anorexia nervosa is characterized by a sudden drop in body weight, yet they feel fat and keep trying to lose weight. Bulimia nervosa is characterized by overeating, followed by purging, fasting, or excessive exercise. Binge eating disorder is binge eating, followed by remorse, but without purging. Eating disorders have cultural, gender, and genetic correlations. During prehistoric times, fat was needed to carry the body through periods of time where food was scarce. However, for most societies, food is abundant and reasonably cheap. This is part of the reason why more than 1 billion people worldwide are overweight and 300 million are clinically obese. Significant obesity puts people at a greater risk for diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, gallstones, arthritis, and certain types of cancer. It can also be socially toxic. Fat cells divide when they become too full. Once the number of fat cells increases, it never decreases. People who do manage to keep off the pounds lose weight gradually and exercise regularly. Masters and Johnson identified 4 stages of the sexual response cycle: excitement, plateau, orgasm, and resolution. During resolution, people go into the refractory phase, where they can't orgasm again for a period of a few minutes or a couple days. Men tend to spend more time in this phase than the other 3 phases. The sex hormones, estrogen for females and testosterone for males, direct sexual development and activate sexual behaviors.
Sexual orientation is how we direct our sexual interests. The 2 most common breakdowns of sexual orientation include heterosexuality, which is the sexual attraction toward a person of the opposite sex, and homosexuality, which is the sexual attraction towards a person of the same sex. A very common misconception is that homosexuals were more likely smothered by maternal love, neglected by their fathers, or sexually abused. That claim is completely false. Here are a few of the biological correlations of sexual orientation. On average, various biological and behavioral traits of gays and lesbians fall between those of straight men and straight women. Some brain differences. Brain asymmetry is greater in straight men and lesbian women. A gay man's hypothalamus reacts as does a straight woman's to the smell of sex-related hormones. Some genetic influences. Shared sexual orientation is higher among identical twins than among fraternal twins. Some prenatal hormonal influences. Altered prenatal hormone exposure may lead to homosexuality in humans and in other animals. And it is said that right-handed men with several older biological brothers are more likely to be gay. Brain differences and genetic and prenatal influences may contribute to observed gay-straight differences in spatial abilities, fingerprint ridge count, auditory system development, handedness, occupational preferences, relative finger lengths, gender nonconformity, age of onset of puberty in males, male body size, sleep length, physical aggression, male eating disorders. Belonging is crucial to our survival. The need to belong colors our thoughts and emotions, so we spend a great deal of time thinking about actual and hopeful relationships. When we feel included, accepted, and loved by those important to us, our self-esteem rides high. To avoid rejection, we generally conform to group standards and seek to make favorable impressions to win friendships and esteem. We monitor our behavior, hoping to create the right impressions. Sometimes, though, the need to belong is denied.
Stress is the process by which we perceive and respond to certain events. Stress is interpreted by each individual independently. For example, in math class today, students have to take a test. Student A is calm and collected before the test, while student B is hyperventilating and pulling his or her hair out. Student A could also be interpreted as someone with type B personality. This is because of their relaxed and easygoing state. Student B could be interpreted as someone with type A personality because they're competitive and hard-driven. Once already stressed, according to Hans Selye, the body goes through the general adaptation syndrome, or GAS, which is the concept of how one's body responds to stress in 3 phases: alarm, resistance, and exhaustion. Phase 1, alarm, is the fight or flight mode, which is one's response to either resolve the threatening situation head on or run away from it. For example, a superhero may go and fight or battle the villain, while a civilian on the street may do the opposite and run away in a different direction from the threatening situation. Phase 2, resistance, is when the body is introduced with an outpour of hormones in an effort to balance out the body's high temperature, high blood pressure, and high respiration rate. Phase 3, exhaustion. Due to the body's high vitals and the outpour of hormones, the body is tired. In lay terms, the body gives up, resulting in exhaustion. Exhaustion can leave the body susceptible to illness, or in extreme cases, death. Stress may be caused by conflict. Conflict is environmental stimuli aroused by 2 or more incompatible response tendencies or motives, and one has to make a choice. There are 4 main types of conflict: approach, avoid, avoid, and double approach, avoid. Approach has 2 situations and you like both results. For example, you are out to dinner and it is dessert time. You have the option between chocolate cake or chocolate cheesecake. You like both, and you know whichever one you choose, you will like the end result. Approach avoid has a situation that you like, but you hate the end result. For example, you like eating fast food, but you hate that it leads to you getting fat. Avoid has 2 situations that you hate, and you hate the end result. For example, you're given the option to eat between Brussels sprouts and asparagus. You hate both, but you have to choose one. Double approach avoid has two situations. Both have positive and negative characteristics. For example, you are going off to college and have to choose between FSU and UF. You have to weigh the pros and cons of both colleges and choose one.